Good afternoon, Rotarians, and welcome to the last meeting that we're having in May. And I'd like to send a special welcome to any visiting Rotarians and guests. And we've got a busy day today, lots to do. A great speaker from Owens Community College, Steve Robertson, and to give him as much time as possible, let's start in our normal way with a reflection and pledge. Keith Burwell will do the reflection and Andy Fox will do the pledge. Keith?
Reflection for the day is several quotes that you probably have heard before, but in this age of where sometimes we don't believe education is all that important or being educated is important, I thought it would be relevant to hear a few words. John Dewey said before, education is not preparation for life, education is life itself. Benjamin Franklin said an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Victor Hugo, he who opens a school door closes a prison. Malcolm Ford's education's purpose is to replace an empty mind with an open one. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. Condoleezza Rice, one thing that education can do, it can provide us with an opportunity to understand one another better. So while I've spent a lot of my time in the world of politics, I've always felt that it's really not politics that will solve all of this for us. And if you know James Madison, who wrote the Federalist Papers, called the father of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, created a free exercise of religion, separation of church and state, and as important, education, said, a popular government without proper information or means of acquiring it is but a prologue to farce or tragedy, or perhaps both. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and a people that mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the knowledge that brings in. Let us remember that as we hear one of our educators today talk about what it means to be educated in our community.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Andy. A little bit of a change up today as I've asked past President Chuck Mann to give us an announcement.
It's been a long-standing tradition for deceased United States veterans to be honored on Memorial Day with the placement of a flag on their grave. This year, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, who traditionally showed up in large numbers, are absent due to the coronavirus situation. This Thursday morning, a group of dedicated volunteers will assemble at Calvary Cemetery to make sure that there is an American flag at every veteran's grave. But the number of people that are currently signed up will not be enough to get the job done. Fellow Rotarians, it's time for us to step up and honor the brave men and women who served their country. If you're willing and able to help with this effort, please call or email Toledo Rotarian Bob Amthor. His name and number are in your club directory and on your screen below. He will need to know who's participating by 1900 hours at 7 p.m. today. So if you're planning to do this, you need to sign up today. Memorial Day is often used as an occasion for an automobile clearance event, a mattress sale, or a race of some kind. Please help us keep the memorial in Memorial Day by signing up to help on Thursday. Thank you, and I hope to see you there.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate what you're doing, and I encourage anyone that can to give Bob a call and participate in this worthy hands-on project. This is a labor of love. We have a meeting sponsor today. I don't know if I saw Donna Bogan out there or not, but I can tell you that Bogan and Hartman are sponsoring all of this month's meetings. And Donna, if you're there, thank you. And if you're not, thank you anyway. Just moving along, we've got our facilitator today is Joe Sharp. You're going to introduce our speaker. I understand he's a really nice guy and you've got to be nice to him.
He is. So it's my pleasure today to introduce Steve Robertson. Steve is the 7th president of Owens Community College in Toledo and Findlay, where he previously served as vice president of academic affairs and then provost. Prior to joining Owens, Steve served as executive dean of planning, research, and quality at Mott Community College in Flint, Michigan. Steve holds a PhD in English from Michigan State University, where he also earned a Bachelor's of Arts and a Master's of Arts in the same subject. His master's degree is in English Community College teaching. Additionally, he is a graduate of the Chair Academy for Leadership and Development, the Harvard Management Development Program, as well as the Aspen Presidential Fellowship for Community College Excellence. Steve's wife, Catherine, is the Director of Human Resources at the Toledo Museum of Art, and they have 2 children, Owen and Julia. Steve's hobbies involve music, collecting vinyl records, and audio equipment and production. Please welcome Steve Robertson.
Thank you so much, Joe. And thank you, President Tim, and thanks for mentioning my wife Catherine's job. A quick story. She landed her job because of our Rotary Club. When I was introduced many years ago as a new member, it came up that she was a great human resources professional still working back in Michigan. And there were some folks from the museum at our meeting, and 2 months later, she was the HR director at our great Toledo Museum of Art. I'm really happy to be here on behalf of Owens Community College. I'm usually a PowerPoint kind of person, so I have some images. I'm going to be putting them on the screen and then taking them back down because I've been really impressed with our Rotary speakers who've gone without PowerPoints. I'm going to try to wean myself off of it. I do want to show you a couple of slides, and hopefully I'm sharing a picture of our wonderful board chair, Mary Beth Hammond. Chair Hammond has been on our board for a number of years, but she's new to the chair role. She's a senior private banker at Fifth Third in Findlay. Just an incredible relationship builder, and she's participating in the meeting today. I wanted to acknowledge her and our 9 trustees who are appointed by the governor. Also, one of our foundation board members, Jim Barron, is a very active member of this club. So I wanted to say hello to him and everybody else. I also want to remind you what the Owens Community College Service District is, if you weren't familiar with that. We are the community college for all of Lucas County, all of Wood County, all of Hancock County, and portions of Ottawa and Sandusky counties. There are 23 community colleges in the state of Ohio, and I'll be talking about that a little later. At Owens, we've got approximately 9,000 unduplicated credit students, and we work with about 10,000 more in workforce contract training and apprenticeships. We were founded in 1965 as a technical college, and we just finished a very large comprehensive strategic plan where we recrafted our mission and vision. Our mission is to foster student and community success, and our vision is to be the premier 2-year college in Northwest Ohio, to be the first choice for students who are interested in career education and university transfer, and to be an indispensable partner for businesses in workforce development. And I want to start off by talking a little bit about our response to the pandemic. If you have friends in higher education, this is a major disruption for higher education, disruptive for everyone. But many of us are in very uncharted waters thinking about what happens next in the fall. And I want to tell you a quick story about how this happened at Owens. All 23 community college presidents were in a meeting with Governor Mike DeWine on March 9th, when he told us that he would be recommending that we transition completely to alternative delivery and not doing face-to-face instruction for the rest of the semester. So all of us got in our cars and drove back to campus and started working with our teams to do the really unprecedented work of moving all of our face-to-face instruction either online or to alternative delivery. And I have to tell you, I'm so impressed with the faculty and the staff at Owens who took about a week and a half to move all the instruction that wasn't already online into alternative delivery. About 30% of our classes already were online. And one thing I do want to let you know about Owens is that many of our essential services remained open throughout the pandemic. We have a sworn police force. They're on campus. Our IT professionals, many of them are on campus, as are facilities folks. But most everyone else is working from home in accordance with the stay-at-home order. And unlike some of our great partners like the University of Toledo, Bowling Green State University, the other private colleges in the region, we do not have residence life. So coming back in the fall is a little different for us. This is something I monitor in the higher ed press every day. There are about 15 different scenarios that higher education organizations are tracking for how things might start up again in the fall. For us at Owens, everything will remain alternative delivery through the summer with some minor exceptions on things that you just can't do without face-to-face instruction. Our really talented folks are working on how to be safe while we do welding instruction or healthcare instruction or technology instruction. And those programs are coming online just about now. In addition, one of the complications you've read about in higher ed is athletics. We are very proud of our athletics programs at Owens. We have suspended men's and women's basketball for the season, not canceled, not eliminated, but suspended because our recruiters can't travel to recruit. We don't have a place to practice. And so the season is very much in question. We're also a national volleyball powerhouse. We're back-to-back national junior college volleyball champions. And so we're actively working with the Ohio Community College Athletic Association and the NJCAA to push volleyball back into the spring. There's a lot going on with athletics, collegiate athletics, and that's how it has impacted Owens. One other piece about the current response to the pandemic, and early in this crisis, I wrote an article in one of our trade publications, the Community College Daily, outlining 5 things that community colleges really need to spend time thinking about in this COVID-19 crisis. The first one is about student equity. We know that as an open admissions college, many of our students are disproportionately impacted by this public health crisis. You see that in the health outcomes with the virus itself. It's hitting folks in poverty, communities of color, much harder than the rest of the country. And that's something that we've been very mindful to make sure we have access to technology and broadband for our students. And it's one of the reasons our libraries have remained open for a good chunk of this crisis so that folks can have access. We also have a food pantry that doesn't work the way it did before the pandemic, but you can call ahead and we continue to provide those services. We've also want to make sure that we're taking care of our employees. We have fantastic community college faculty and staff here at Owens, and this is a stressful time. We asked our faculty to do something unheard of, really, to take all of the face-to-face instruction and move it to alternative delivery in just a few short days. And this can provide a lot of stress. So we're trying to be very mindful of that. And also the folks who deal with our social media. As you know, this pandemic has caused a lot of divisions in our society, and people get angry and unload on the folks whose job it is to monitor Facebook and Twitter. And so one of the things I encourage my community college colleagues to do is make sure we're taking care of the folks who are responding to complaints on social media and taking angry phone calls. But I'd like to transition a little bit to how we hope to be a great partner to the community as we get back to work and recover. I've got another slide I'd like to show just with some of our partnership work. So we're very proud of our partnerships at Owens Community College. We do this work together. This is not something that the community college stands alone. Most of the important work we do in concert with our great K-12 partners like the Toledo Public Schools, like career technical centers like Penta. We essentially are in the same neighborhood as Penta and have a long shared history with Penta. In Findlay, we work very closely with Millstream, the career center down there. I'm proud to serve on the board of the RGP and Raise the Bar Hancock County, which is the workforce board in Hancock County. And we do hands-on training at Cherry Street Mission. We're working actively with the chamber on how we get back to work here in Ohio. And I think that the key to this work is going to be working together in partnership. Other ways that we've partnered and built some infrastructure I think will be helpful to families and employers in Ohio as we emerge from this crisis have to do with university transfer. For the past several years, we've built what we call our Express programs. These are dual admission programs where students are simultaneously admitted to the community college and the transfer university. We started this at Bowling Green State University when Dr. Rodney Rogers was the provost and I was the provost here. Our teams came together and built this, what's become kind of a national model of concurrent admission, where the student is admitted both places. And rather than wait to transfer community college credits, those credits transfer in real time. And we quickly built those programs with the University of Toledo, that's called Rocket Express. We have Gray Wolf Express with Lords and Euler Express with the University of Findlay. It's a great way for these universities to manage their community college transfer pipeline. And it saves families a great amount of tuition money as well. So these programs are stood up and ready for folks when we get back to work. And I also want to give a shout out to my colleague Sharon Gaber at the University of Toledo. And I wish her well in North Carolina. One of the things, the lasting legacy she should leave with us here in Toledo is a vision for the university that does not include the university being a community college. We have an open admissions two-year institution, and the best way for us to work together is to build out that community college transfer pipeline. The last thing I'd like to tell you about that we built before the pandemic that I think will help is something called the Start Here Scholarship. This is a last dollar scholarship for students who are dual enrolled in high school, students who graduate with 9 credits of College Credit Plus with us have a tuition-free pathway, either to one of our associate degrees, which are all designed for labor market value, or junior status at one of our Express partners. So we're hoping that these are good partnerships that are here for students once we emerge and get back to work. Now, if we were meeting in person, I would love to introduce you to our new Dean of Workforce. And so I'm going to do that right now on my screen. Quentin Roberts is our new Dean of Workforce and Community Services. I hope you can see him here. Quentin had to join Owens Community College during the pandemic, so he started working from home. But Quentin is a really impressive person who has a great background in corporate services. And President Tim, he's a Rotarian and the former president of his club, the Genesee Valley Rotary Club in Flint. He's a graduate of the Air Force Academy and William and Mary Law School. He led the corporate services division of my former employer, Mott Community College. So Quentin and I both come to Toledo by way of Flint, Michigan. And if he were here, I'm sure he'd be working the room and giving everyone his business card, because workforce, finding good employees, and also doing training for your business is going to be really important in the coming months and years. And so I'm delighted to introduce you to Quentin. I also want to talk a little bit about a case study of some corporate partnerships that we've built in the southern part of our community district in Findlay and Hancock County. We have a gorgeous campus in Findlay and very strong partnerships. And we were very happy to bring on board the first chapter of something called Ohio FAME. FAME stands for the Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. And we partnered with a number of employers in Hancock County to bring on board a specifically designed associate's degree in applied technology. Our partners are great businesses like Ball Metal, Cooper Tire, Nish and Brake, Romark, GSW, many others. And this is an associate degree that we designed with the employers, for the employers. And many of the students are incumbent workers, but some of them were recent high school grads, and it's an apprenticeship style program. And we continue to do things like that on this campus up here in Toledo. We have our signature programs with Caterpillar and John Deere, and Cisco. These are design programs for corporate partners, and they end in great family sustaining wages for those students. And finally, we're still the state's largest provider of 4-credit union apprenticeship training in skilled trades across the state. We have students all over the state going through Owens Community College coursework in skilled trades. One last thing on workforce that I'd like to share, and it's very exciting for all of us at Owens. We have continued construction on our 60,000 square foot Dana Center for Advanced Manufacturing Training. The construction crews never stopped working. I drove by them this morning. They're making incredible progress. This is a very important asset for the community because it sits right at the corner of I-75 and the Turnpike. The 60,000 square foot training facility for mechatronics and advanced manufacturing and things like PLCs, CNCs, automation, electrical. And as you know, we sit in an area where there is an incredible amount of industrial rooftop right next to our campus, and one of the largest concentrations of robotics and factory automation in the country. And before the pandemic, based on Toledo Regional Chamber of Commerce data, we anticipated a great need for skilled employees in this area, and we anticipate that that will even intensify as we recover. So the lead gift in our wonderful capital campaign came from the Dana Corporation with a $1 million investment. Wherever I can, I like to show that photo of Dana CEO Jim Kamsiskas investing $1 million in technical training here in Northwest Ohio. And that project is moving along and was an essential project as we came through this crisis. So finally, I want to end by talking about something that's been a passion of mine for my career, and that is the perception of two-year colleges. I've spent my near 30-year career in higher education in open admissions two-year colleges. And it's something that I feel really strongly about. There is still a lingering misconception or stigma against beginning at a community college. There are a number of inaccurate assumptions that people make about open admissions two-year community and technical colleges. And I want to show you one last picture, which is a family snapshot. And this is a photo that was taken on the sand dunes on Lake Michigan near Silver Lake. Sadly, everyone in this photo has passed, but this is my family tree. The couple in the middle are my late parents, Jim and Sherry. To the left are my mom's parents, Owen and Betty Rice. And then to the right are my grandparents on my dad's side. And if you're a vehicle aficionado, you'll notice that that's a 1964 International Harvester Scout, which was designed to compete with the Jeep. They were very popular in the 60s, and IH brought that online to compete with the Jeep. I want to talk about my mom's parents for a minute. Owen and Betty Rice were physicians. That's their graduation photo. They graduated from medical school in 1939 in Kirksville, Missouri, and they were osteopathic physicians. And I think we have some osteopaths in our club, and they could tell you that many years ago, there was an unfair stigma against osteopathic medicine. Nowadays, we don't make a big distinction between MDs and DOs, but once upon a time, there was an unfair view placed against osteopaths. In fact, my mother in the 40s, there were kids on her street who were not allowed to play with her because her parents were osteopaths. And I'm very happy to tell you that stigma is gone. Another stigma that my grandparents experienced is you notice that my grandmother was a physician. She graduated from medical school in 1939. She practiced for a while, but only for a while because there was a strong cultural aversion to married professional women working in the 30s and the 40s. Like I just recently learned that there were laws in Prohibition era states that prohibited married women from working. I'm really happy to tell you that that stigma is gone. So the reason I tell that story is stigmas can go away. And to that end, the work that I've been doing nationally on this is based on pride in community colleges. I really believe that in a post-COVID America, we're going to wake up and be really happy that we built out a national network of open admissions two-year colleges that focus on affordable university transfer and credentials that lead to family sustaining careers. There are about 1,100 community colleges in our country. And the comprehensive community college is actually my very favorite idea. It was born after World War II, about the same time as the GI Bill. The blueprint for our community college infrastructure came from President Truman in 1947, the Truman Commission report. And like I told you, Ohio boasts 23 great community colleges. Another thing that folks might not know is here in Ohio, we have something called the Ohio Transfer Module. The general education classes here at Owens and the other 22 community colleges are the exact same learning outcomes at the University of Toledo, Bowling Green State University, Miami University. They're approved by the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and we teach to the same learning outcomes. Here in Northwest Ohio, we often use the same faculty. It is not uncommon in a metro area for faculty to teach at the community college and the regional universities. I'll give myself as a brief example. I taught freshman composition at a community college for 15 years. And I won't be modest about this. I was a phenomenal teacher. And if you took my writing class, it would be as good or better than what you'd have at any university, in particular because I had a PhD in the subject, I had a small class size, and it was my sole focus. My sole focus was teaching. So the three-part theory of our stigma campaign is that there really is a negative stigma against community colleges. Second, it's not based in reality, not based on our quality as an institution. And third, the only way we're really going to change it is to have conversations like I'm trying to have right now. 50 years of telling positive stories just hasn't worked. We have to tell people that perhaps they don't understand the great things that are going on at their local community college. And most Americans live very close to a community college. So in our campaign, I've written about this in the Toledo Blade, I've written about it in Forbes, The Atlantic, the Higher Ed Press, Inside Higher Ed, Community College Daily, produced a national podcast with college presidents and students and faculty. And one thing I'm watching is the survey data on this. The National Association of College Admissions Counselors do a biennial survey about perceptions of community college. And the negative perceptions of community colleges are high. Parents and students overwhelmingly hold stigmatized views about community colleges. And what's interesting, that same group, they also survey university admissions officers. Those folks do not hold stigmatized views about community colleges because they know the quality students that come in the pipelines from their transfer community colleges. So in closing, I just would love to tell you that Owens Community College is here to partner with all of you, with the other community colleges, with the other universities and businesses as we recover. And I'm hoping that when we get to the other side of this pandemic and the big disruption it's had on higher education, that we might turn the lights up a little bit on the great infrastructure we have with community colleges, the affordability, the quality, and the great partnerships with K-12 and university and businesses. We're going to be really happy that we have American Comprehensive Community Colleges, and here in Toledo, it's Owens Community College. And you know our tagline, it's your success starts here. So with that, President Tim and members of the club, I'd love to end and ask questions, but I sure appreciate the opportunity to tell you about how we've responded to the pandemic and what we hope to do in partnership across the community as we recover from this public health crisis. Thank you.
Dr. Robinson, thank you very much for your comments. I'm getting some feedback here. All right, we're going to go to our first question is George. All right, George, you are up.
I'm trying.
You are very bright, my friend.
Okay. Thank you for your kind presentation. I just wanted to add something that you might be of interest. In 1994, until then, we had an osteopathic hospital in Toledo, Parkview Hospital. I don't know if you're aware of that. And they went bankrupt. And they went bankrupt. And while they went bankrupt, I was the chairman.
Oh, no.
And I am extremely aware of what you're talking about. Our DOs at the time were shunned by all hospitals. I had a merger worked out with Toledo Hospital, and at the end, they turned it down because their doctors shunned the DOs and didn't want anything to do with them. And now you go over to Toledo Hospital, and DOs are everywhere. 26 years later, so I just thought you'd find that a little interesting.
Thank you, George. And that's actually what I hope happens with people's misconceptions about community colleges, because my grandparents were my heroes, and I still, I love all doctors, but if I have a choice, I go to see an osteopath.
Just one quick remark. You need a little more enthusiasm in your presentation. A compliment.
Hey, Chuck, can you handle George's camera all right? Are you ready for that? All right, next question, Kurt Church, you're up.
Mute. First of all, Dr. Robinson, thank you very much for your presentation. First, I want to talk a little bit about your mother, because my mother was one of the first 50 women to graduate from Ohio State Medical School during the early 60s. And she had a very real stigma about being a female physician coming out during that period of time. And my grandfather, also a physician in Lancaster, Ohio, graduated from Ohio State as well, even told her that, why are you wasting your money on medical school when you're probably going to get married and not practice? So she persevered, did it, and it was one of the first 50 women from Ohio State. So my question, can you tell me a little bit more about the success of the trades with Owens Community College and how they're being placed out in the field?
Yes, I can, Kurt, and thanks for the question. So we were founded as a technical college, and it wasn't until 1994 we became a comprehensive community college, which means we then focused on university transfer and general education. So in our DNA, going back to the beginning, is technical trades and also healthcare education. So I want to divide my answer to your question into two broad categories: health professions and maybe applied engineering and skilled trades. We continue to be a leader in nursing and all kinds of allied health. We were the first community college in the country to have an MRI technologist program. And what's interesting is all community colleges, as the economy recovered, saw a dip in enrollment, and that happened here at Owens. It did not help it happen in the health profession. The demand has still been high, and it's also a great pathway for a lot of students because those are family sustaining wages. So the second part of the answer to your question is in the trades. So we do a whole spectrum of work in the trades, and this is true at most community colleges, but some of it can be very short-term, non-credit. We do a lot of corporate training with corporate clients. I mentioned our partnership with Dana. We were very proud to be instrumental in helping them get Driveline off the ground because they needed pre-employment testing. They needed some safety training. And so we do that kind of work on a non-credit basis. We have 4-credit apprenticeships in a lot of the building trades, roofers and pipe fitters, and that's all over the state. And we have a number of automotive. We'd have a GM ASEP program. We have 2 flagship diesel mechanic programs. Our programs with John Deere and Caterpillar, these students start with a job before they even start taking classes. And it's an 8-week on, 8-week on co-op where they're in the field for 8 weeks and they're here on campus for 8 weeks. So it continues to be a really important part of what community colleges do, what Owens does, is getting folks into the trades. And I guess I'd just end by saying, now during the pandemic, when we've seen folks who are helping, who are really running our economy, folks who are in grocery stores and retail workers and the folks who are building our data center right now, I'm hoping that more people realize just how important that is when we get to the other side of this. But thanks for the question.
Thanks for your answer. Yeah, I'm very, very interested in seeing more of our students look into the skilled trades for what your affordability statements earlier, and the ability to not have any debt coming out of college and have a job waiting for them directly afterwards. And in fact, in most cases, being paid while they're going to school.
That's true.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next question, John Wasserman, you are up.
Thanks for your great, very informative talk. I have a question of what is your current enrollment, and has the trend been up or down? And then secondly, what percentage of your students go to the four-year program or are immediately go into employment?
Okay, it's a great question. Before the pandemic, John, we have seen declines in enrollment. And what usually happens at a community college is we have what's called a countercyclical relationship to the local economy. We had unemployment at record lows before this crisis. And usually that is a downward pressure on community college enrollment. So we have seen it at its apex during the height of the Great Recession. Owens had almost 20,000 unduplicated heads, and now we're probably at about 9. So now let's talk about now in the pandemic. Our great faculty and academic affairs folks had to really change our summer schedule based on what we knew what was happening. And so by eliminating face-to-face classes, we've seen about a 20% drop from this time last year, but it's coming up. At first it was 30 and it's recovering. Here's one little thought about after this pandemic. If the trend held from the Great Recession, we would see a spike in community college enrollment. I'm not so sure that this crisis isn't so disruptive that it doesn't behave exactly like the last one. So I think community college leaders, and I've been talking to them, would be foolish to think that automatically we're going to see a boon in enrollment, because I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll see increases in enrollment in pockets of programs, and I think it might be a little unpredictable. And then I want to answer the last bit of your question. About 70 to 80% of students who admit at a community college declare an intention to transfer to a university. With us, that number who actually do it is a little lower. We struggle at community colleges with getting folks to the associate degree and getting them to transfer, but here's what we know about the students who actually do transfer. Students who transfer from Owens to University of Toledo or Bowling Green State or Findlay or Lourdes, they actually graduate at a higher rate than native students with higher GPAs. So it's a great pathway, and community colleges all over the country are trying to increase that actual transfer yield rate. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
A reminder, if you've got questions, you can raise your hand in the participant window. Under participants, you'll click the raise hand button or shoot me a message in the chat and I can bring you up on screen to ask a question. Dr. Robertson, you had mentioned in your presentation, you talked about athletics, and you specifically said that you haven't canceled like seasons like volleyball. You've suspended them until the spring. You know, my kids just finished school, so to me, we're in summer. What is that like? If the season actually picked up, what would that look like?
Well, it's a great question. I wish I had a specific answer. So much of it is in play. Let me just say a couple of things. There are community colleges that don't have athletics. We do, and we're really proud of it. We're committed to our athletic program. The impact for basketball in the near term, and this was just in the Blade this last week, is really in response to our ability to recruit and build program now. Unlike the four-year colleges, because we're Division III junior college athletics, which is not scholarship grant. And so our great folks on the ground in those, we are really good people in sports, but they don't have a field of athletes for these yet. And we have policies on the books that prohibit them traveling to recruit. And even if they were able to bring the students here, our practice facilities are closed. And so we were in a situation where our vice president over this area and the athletic staff, the students were trying to make decisions about where they're going to live, and it's not like a residential situation where there's a dorm where the students live in. So the basketball we suspended, meaning we're not eliminating it, but it's not going to happen this year. I wish I had more to tell you about volleyball, because nobody wants to get back to the volleyball court more than me. It's nothing like cheering on your team if you're the president of a college and they win 2 national championships in a row. It's awesome. We've got a storied program here at Owens. So there's a lot of uncertainty in college athletics, including whether there'll be spectators, but some of our tournaments have started to come offline. And I'll end by saying it's a great question, Kevin. We spent a lot of time talking to the athletes, talking to their families, and also to the state and national officials in athletics, because folks in collegiate athletics are nervous right now, because it's often a place where that's in jeopardy in a crisis. So our vice president reached right out to the president of the NJCAA, and folks have been really understanding about what we need to do.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate your comments and remarks. And I will pass it back to President Tim. I think we've got a couple of things coming yet in the meeting, so we'll go back to President Tim.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that very much. Steve, that was a great presentation. You did come across as a nice guy, and Joe did his job in the intro, but before I say thank you, I have a couple questions as well. Is there any other program that provides apprenticeship training in the counties that you were talking about? Are you the only one?
No. Some of the other community colleges, and it's been a while since I did a little mapping of which apprenticeships are with which community colleges, because we're focused on serving the ones that we have. But it's a competitive infrastructure, President Tim, and there are other four-year colleges. There are also some of the apprenticeships are stood up on their own and have training halls, union hall based programs. So it really runs the gamut. I'm obviously a proponent for the ones that transcript college credit. Some of our building trades and skilled trades programs, they end in credits that could articulate toward a bachelor's degree, but there are other training providers.
Thank you very much. The apprentices that come from your institution, are they paid as well as journeymen in the marketplace? Other journeymen in the marketplace?
Yes, it's a very similar structure. Essentially, that training happens with the apprenticeship group, that whether it's a local union or not, and the instruction and curriculum come through Owens. We're the entity that writes and gets the curriculum approved with the state through the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and we also do all the accreditation work. Just like the University of Toledo, Bowling Green, we're accredited by the Higher Learning Commission, and those apprenticeship programs have to be blessed by the accrediting body. What's interesting is we actually do all that accrediting work for all the community colleges in the state because we've just been a leader in it for so long.
Wow, well, that's good news. Just a couple other things. Did I hear you right that between part-time and full-time students, you have a student body of 19,000?
9,000, President Tim.
Okay, that's a lot of kids, a lot of young people. And finally, thank you for bringing Quentin Roberts to the meeting. That's an amazing resume that man has. I don't know if he's there or not, but I'm looking forward to meeting Quentin. Oh, there's
Quentin, there you are.
Nice to meet you. I had a chance to look at your resume quickly.
Quentin and I have not yet had a face-to-face meeting since he came to Owens. So it's good to see you.
Well, for those of you that don't know or haven't seen, Quentin's got an amazing resume. As I wrap up this portion, I want to thank you for an amazing presentation. You and your institution are important entities in our community, and we're glad you're here, and we're glad for all that you do. Sooner or later, we will, as a thank you, we will give you a book on the history of Toledo in recompense for being here and speaking to us. And equally important is we will make a contribution to the Rotary Polio Plus Fund in your name. And today you are doing your share in saving some children. So
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
President Tim.
just a few comments as we move on. You know, we've been talking about this Zoom stuff for weeks now, and I have to admit, I had not even heard the word Zoom before. I think it was either Kevin or Travis brought it to my attention about 10 weeks ago or so. And I'm pleased. We've done a good job, but I've become aware of something called Zoom bombing, where people invade your meeting. And I understand we've taken technical measures to control that. Don't know how it's going to work out. Haven't experienced it myself, but we're going to have some changes in terms of security for these meetings. And that's probably going to be a password, and it may be other things. And I'll take advice from people that know more about this stuff than I do. We've been having great experience getting participation. I don't know what the number was, but I think it was 116 or something this meeting. We've had great participation previously on the Zoom portion, and even greater, substantially greater in terms of Facebook presence. Travis, do you want to talk about that for a second?
We've had really great response on Facebook.
Thank you. That way, I couldn't have said that one better. We've had, I also want to thank everyone for participating in the survey. We had 126 responses, which in this club is pretty good. Nearly 60% of you want to return to in-person meetings as soon as this shelter in place is sorted out. I'd like to assure everybody that this is a major topic of discussion at the board level and the leadership of the club. And we will, as I'm sure you expect, keep your safety as our primary concern, and get us back to normal as soon as we can, but get us back there safely. And Kurt, are you still there?
As one of the service projects that the Vocational Services Committee puts on yearly is the four-way speech contest. The four-way speech contest is a submitted speech by way of video. Rotary's ahead of the curve here. We've been doing this for 3 years or 4 years now, in which students at the high school level choose a topic and incorporate the 4 questions of the four-way test into their speech. That was submitted at the end of March, and then we had this whole thing. In general, they usually come to a meeting on a Monday and provide the speech in person, but this year we're going to do it as way of a video. But first, let me give a quick bio and placements of the 3 winners. All happen to be from Whitmer High School. The first is Olivia Wetzel. She's a sophomore at Whitmer. Over the next few years, she is focused on her academics and speech and debate, which she is passionate about. Olivia says she loves to speak her mind and will continue to do so past high school. You might remember her last year. She leveraged her money from winning the speech contest and enrolled in another debate contest, although I don't have the results of that from last spring or last summer. In second place is John Burkhart. He is also a senior at Whitmer High School, and he plans on attending Pomona College in Claremont, California, majoring in public policy analysis and economics. He hopes to pursue a career in policy analysis, particularly in the realm of education policy, giving back to the system he is proud to call himself a product of. And lastly, in third place, Emily Lee is currently a senior attending Whitmer. She plans on studying economics at Hamilton College. I will say that to give you a quick title of each speech, Olivia Wetzel spoke on words and deeds. John Burkhart spoke about school choice, and Emily Lee spoke about a promise to our veterans?
Recently, I had a problem and decided to seek help from my best friend, my Amazon Echo. So I asked, Alexa, how do I solve my problems? And during her long explanation, the concept of problem talk and solution talk caught my attention. Journalist Paul Jackson explains that solution talk is when we experience a problem and find a way to fix it, untried before. Problem talk, on the other hand, is when we consistently discuss every problem we face without actually finding a solution. Rather than doing something, we just talk about the issue itself. Too often, we focus on this idea or discussion of change without truly creating action. Essentially, when we forget or decide to not follow through with what we say, our words lose their influence. They don't matter. So, let's apply the 4-way rotary test and first ask, is it the truth? And the answer is yes. We often have every intention to act on what we say, but as James Clear explains in his book Atomic Habits, for some reason, we decide to do something completely different, which he describes as the Acrasia effect. Take, for example, Victor Hugo. His publisher was constantly frustrated with him for putting extra projects over his main goal of writing. So for one of Hugo's books, his publisher set a deadline 6 months in the future. But in order to get the book written quicker, Hugo had a different plan. He asked his assistant to take all of his clothes, lock them up, and leave him at his house with only a shawl. I thought about trying that while writing this speech, but I DoorDash way too much. Unable to communicate or go outside with the rest of the world, Hugo only had one option: to write a book. And this strange plan worked, as The Hunchback of Notre Dame was published 2 weeks earlier than planned. And while Hugo was able to overcome his moment of the Acrasia effect, our lack of self-control continues to be an issue. It's one of the biggest reasons why our words have lost their substance. Because rather than doing what we know is right, we decide to take the more pleasant route. Next we ask, is it fair to all concerned? And the answer is no. The linguist John Heyman speaks of cheap talk, which has made our most meaningful conversations meaningless. In short, words have become a joke. What used to be seen as a flamethrower to create the fire that is change. Words are like a little match that goes out within seconds. And being creatures of habit, we're doing the exact same thing to our most important conversations. Because whether you love to talk or not, the action seems to be unworthy of effort. Next we ask, will it bring goodwill and better friendships? And the answer is again, no. When we fail to act on what we say, others lose faith in us. Dennis Jaff from Forbes explains that in order for any relationship to work, there must be a concern for each other and a kind of loyalty that can never be broken. When this is not the case, the results are devastating. Believe me, I found out the hard way how words without actions can be so damaging. My grandparents and I are not biologically related, but when I was younger, they both told me that everything would be okay, that I was their granddaughter no matter what. When my younger cousin Levi was born, I asked them again, and they reassured me that I had nothing to worry about. One day, the entire family went on this nice, simple family gathering at an apple orchard. And honestly, I had a great time. And then I got home and saw what my grandparents posted on Facebook. There it was, a post about how they were so excited to show their first grandchild what it was like to pick out apples. With a picture of my cousin Levi. I was devastated. I asked my grandparents about the post, and they again said all the right words. But their actions never agreed. Over and over and over again. And they said one thing and did another. Until eventually, I lost hope. And our relationship has devolved into my grandpa wishing me a happy 13th birthday on my 14th birthday on Facebook. Finally, we ask, is it beneficial to all concerned? And the answer is yes, if we choose differently. Alex Sheen realized this in 2012, when his father died of cancer. In the midst of his sadness, Alex realized everything his father did for him, but how the same couldn't be said for thousands of other people in this world, including himself. His solution? To take cards with the words printed, "Because I said I would," at the bottom, in the hopes that people would write down a task and do it because they said they would. And this small but meaningful idea helped millions of people follow through with what they said, because ultimately, when we learn to make the simplest of promises, we become something bigger than ourselves. At the end of the day, our words can matter, but when we do nothing about them, they're meaningless. So, the next time you're talking or attempting to solve a problem, wait, think, and do.
Kurt, thank you, and the vocational services team. That was an amazing young lady, and I see why she won this year.
She's only a sophomore, and she won last year as a freshman.
That is a lot of poise for a sophomore. I can't wait to see what she does in her life.
Her personal experience certainly pulled me into the video.
Thanks, Kurt. Just a quick comments from Marnie. Are you there about talk about the book club?
I think it was I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I've received about 6 responses, which have been really exciting because I get the sense that the people who've responded are really looking forward to this. One of the questions I asked was, would you prefer to meet monthly or every 6 weeks? The majority so far have said 6 weeks, and I'm really excited to see the wide range of genre that people are interested in discussing, reading and discussing together. So it looks like this book club is going to have something for everybody, which is really fun. So I just ask, if you have not already completed the survey and you're interested in knowing more about the book club, would you please respond to the survey by this Friday? Again, it looks like so far the majority of people are interested in meeting every 6 weeks. But that could change as other people also share that they want to participate. So please get in the results by Friday. We're eager to kick this off. It'll be a lot of fun. Thanks.
Thanks, Mari, and thank you for what you're doing. As I close the meeting today, I want to remind everyone that there is no meeting next week. Our next meeting is June the 1st. And so I wish everybody health and please stay safe out there. That concludes our meeting. We are adjourned.